Hey everybody, welcome back to Chortlecast. I'm Jake, and with me as always, Steven, the Stream King, the Far Cry guy, the King of Thieves, and the man who's butt hurt and brokenhearted that he won't be able to romance Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077. Steven, I know you're hurting, I know you're suffering, but thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
I will continue to live on just knowing that he still thinks I'm breathtaking.
That's right. Be strong, Steven. Just keep telling yourself that.
I said that I was going to do this in, I think, last night's Beat Saber stream, or Saturday night's Beat Saber stream. But Aaronator was there, and he was like, who's your favorite Scooby-Doo character? Mm-hmm. And I basically said, like, well, Scooby, obviously, but if I was defined as, like, you are this Scooby-Doo character, I was like, I'd probably be Velma. But, oh my gosh, Jake is my Fred. So...
How am I Fred?
Watch any live stream that we've done. It's like, all right, well, it'd be like this is me and you, okay? Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm trying to picture Velma and Fred for this.
Oh, hey, here's this clue. Maybe we're supposed to do this. Let's split up. Like, that's you and me in any situation. Just like, I'm like, hey, let's think about this, and you're just like, nope.
See, I feel like I would be more. Well, I guess this isn't really true because I would say Shaggy or Scooby for me because I'm always just off and I'm causing trouble, but I figure it out at the end. You know what I mean? I'm always coming in at the end to save you.
Yeah, but at least Shaggy and Scooby know to run away.
That's the only thing. It's like they don't end up in those situations because they want to. They end up because they're running, trying to get away. They end up in the situations, whereas I'm just running headlong into everything. So maybe
exactly.
So. I don't know.
Maybe you're Daphne. She always gets herself in bad situations.
But doesn't she always get kidnapped?
Yeah, but like, it doesn't have to be too literal.
Yeah.
Maybe
so. So you're Velma and I'm Daphne?
Yes. Weird. Welcome to Chortlecast.
Today we answer the question of who's Velma and who's Daphne. This is Chortlecast.
What Scooby-Doo characters are Steven and Jake? That is the question we pose to you today.
You can answer that in the comments. Go ahead right now. Feel free. Yeah. I'd love to. I can't wait to find out all these answers. This is Chortlecast, the official podcast of Chortle Games, where we don't always talk about Scooby-Doo characters, but it's a good day when we do. We've got a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about we got a little teeny tiny piece of news, just one news story this week, talking about Ring Fit Adventure. Then we're going to hear from Steven about Borderlands and DAEMON X Machina. And then we're going to hear from me about Demon Slayer, which is an anime. Okay, I always say we talk about anime when we want to, but today we're doing it. And then I'm also going to tell a scary story that I had this week playing VR, playing Accounting Plus. And Steven, when I told Steven this before we started recording, he was like, "What? An Accounting Plus? What are you talking about?" I don't know how many people know about this, but we're gonna have a story. So
is that the Rick and Morty game?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I get it.
You watched me and you and I watched Miles play this. I bought it for the channel, and then just one night, probably 2 years ago, Miles played it in front of a group of us, and I was just like, "Yeah, we're not gonna make a Let's Play out of this." But anyway. We got a good story, so it's coming up. But before we get there, let's jump right into this Ring Fit Adventure that Nintendo has announced. Go ahead.
Do you want me to say what my reaction was?
I'll get there. So let me paint the picture for you, Steven. So I'm going to set you up, and you can knock them down.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to prime them. You can detonate them. All right.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, you're welcome. So anyway, for those of you that didn't know, so last week when we had the Nintendo Direct, like the next day, or maybe it was in the same day, but it was after the Direct, Nintendo dropped this really weird trailer for some new thing. And we saw the ring, this like ring that you slotted your Joy-Con in. We saw this like leg brace that you put another Joy-Con in. And we just saw people using it, but we didn't know what they were doing with it. And it's very goofy, and if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's hilarious because literally have no idea what these people are doing. And it's talking about Paris and London and Texas, and it's like, why are there locations in this? Anyway, and they teased, hey, this is going to be a new thing we're going to talk about on September 12th. So that was this past week. And they finally have announced it. It's a 7.5 minute video if you want to go watch it, but it's basically the Ring Fit Adventure. It's this ring that, like I said, you slot a Joy-Con in and then a strap, and it's an exercise game. It's kind of the answer to Wii Fit from the Wii era. And so, you do all sorts of stuff. The interesting thing about this is it's an adventure game. So, like, you jog in place to move your character. And it was unclear to me, but I think you're using the wheel to, like, steer your character. And then also when you're fighting things, like there's a buff dragon and they literally called him that, that you're trying to defeat. And so you're fighting a bunch of enemies, kind of trying to get through levels to get to him. And you fight the enemies by doing exercises. So like, and there are certain enemies that, like, if there's a red enemy, maybe you got to do some sort of arm exercise. Would be a better attack against him, but like a blue enemy, you might have to jog in place or something, do a leg workout to fight him off. So it's very much like exercises like you'd see in like a Wii Fit or a Wii Sports type of thing. Yeah. But it's in an adventure game setting. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of what it is. But Steven, you had some pretty interesting comments about it when you first saw it.
So, okay, for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm going to wait 5 seconds. Pause the video if you need to. Go look up the, what was it called?
It's called Ring Fit Adventure.
Go look up the Ring Fit Adventure announcer trailer. I'm going to wait 5 seconds. I'm literally going to count them on my hand, and then I'm going to give you my bullet points.
And I say trailer, it's like a 7.5 minute video, so it's not very short, but you know.
Right. Okay, now that you're back, one, this game looks like it's like a game that they show in like low-budget TV shows or Sprite commercials that looks absolutely fake. Two, that guy was definitely on cocaine.
The guy in the video, I don't know what was wrong with him, but yeah, he was really trying for that commercial.
He felt like a dude who was just like pitching his passion project, and he just snorted up some cocaine before, because he was out there and he was just like, and then you've got the wheel, and then if there's a red enemy, you're gonna like.
he was in it.
He was flying.
Yeah.
And then three, my first thought as soon as they showed that there was like a bow stance move, I was like, well, crap, Jake's getting it.
So it's interesting. Like, so Wii Fit was very much, hey, let us show you how to exercise, and you can use these controllers to like kind of let us help you be in a better position. But now we've got games like Beat Saber and Super Hot on VR that like aren't workout games. Like, you don't think about working out playing those, but Super Hot, especially for me, like if I did that for an hour once a day, that would be exercise.
It's an ab workout, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, and the same for Beat Saber, especially if you really get into it. It can be a exercise and workout. And so this is just kind of the next layer of that, and even further, just because it's actually doing exercises. But they're trying to like meld that I'm playing a game, I'm not really exercising, with actual exercise. And I don't think they do it as well as Super Hot and Beat Saber, but I don't know. Well, it's interesting.
I think the problem with it, like what makes it so cheesy, is that it doesn't try to hide what it is.
It doesn't at all. It is
like
very
the
much
fact that you're doing like
exercise.
Yeah, you're doing like exercise, yoga poses and whatnot to like fight creatures and stuff. Like that makes it come off as like really goofy, you know? And all this to be said, and I've said this on podcast probably several times, but I really appreciate what Nintendo does to try to appeal in new ways to their family audience. We all made fun of the Labo, like the cardboard stuff, but it was a cool concept.
It was an interesting experiment, and I think in all regards it was successful. I mean, they were aiming for a market of of children, and even beyond that, like preschoolers who could get with their parents and make this fun little cardboard thing, and then do something else. And I don't think that's a market that many people, like PlayStation and Xbox, are not doing anything to hit that market. So it's interesting that they're doing that. And same to this, I don't think that they're doing anything to hit kind of I don't know, like a sporty kind of audience, other than,
Xbox did for a little bit with the Kinect, but we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, they didn't fully commit to that. Nintendo commits and then moves away.
Yeah. So like with Nintendo, I appreciate what they're trying to do, and it's a cool idea, but it's pretty cringy the way they show. It's pretty cringy, but on the other hand, like, it could be a really good thing. It really could.
I know there's an audience who of people who probably had like a Wii Fit, like they'll probably get this. But let me ask you this, Steven, because this is where I think I wonder if this is going to be a better thing or a worse thing. It's trying to meld exercise and then but you're playing a game, you're doing something, which I think is good for gamers. But like, I don't think many like I assume I'm not planning on getting this. I want to get it somehow for a video, but then I'll probably never use it again. I assume, Steven, you're kind of in that same boat of this isn't really something you would do. So putting the gameplay in it really isn't doing anything for your gamers. So then the people who would want this would be people who are athletic or who are looking for a fun way to exercise, and they have a Switch for Pokemon or whatever, just kind of simple, like they're not big gamers, they're casual. But suddenly it's not totally dedicated to exercise, so I just don't know. I'm hoping that this melding of the two doesn't hurt it, which they do have a mode where you can just do the exercises, and I'd love to see metrics on what people actually end up using frequently. But anyway.
Yeah. It would be fun to do a video of it. Honestly, I am one of those people that, like, I have a hard time working out because I'm super duper self-conscious, and self-conscious in the way to where it's like I always feel like people are watching me, and I don't like to be watched. So I do see the appeal of like staying active in some way while still being inside and no one being around to look at me and make fun of me. So like I see the appeal. I do. And I'm curious to see how it does.
I'm curious as well. But I don't know that I'm going to get it. But hey, if someone wants to buy us a code and send it to me, we will do a video on it. I really want to do a video on it. I think there's a hilarious video waiting behind that. But it's like it's like $70 or something like that. And I can't justify a $70 for one video. So we'll have to do 3, Steven, to make it worth our while. Okay. All right. Well, that's all the news, unfortunately, and obviously Keanu is not a romantic character in Cyberpunk 2077. But I don't think there's not much more to say about that other than that. So let's just catch up a little bit, Steven. Catching up is where we talk about all the games we've been playing, or shows we've been watching, or terrifying experiences we've been having. I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna talk about this little anime called Demon Slayer. Now, Brody, who is one of our Chortle boys who you don't see very often, he was the one who actually turned me on to the show. I'd seen lots of stuff on Twitter about it, but I didn't realize it was the same show. Like, I know you don't spend a lot of time on Twitter, Steven, but you've probably seen images or memes of this half boar, half man with 2 katanas floating around on Twitter. Have you seen?
I'm gonna Google that right now.
I don't even know his name yet. I haven't gotten that far in the anime yet. But I've seen him all over Twitter, And I was like, I don't know what this is from. And so then Brody was like, Jake, you need to watch the show Demon Slayer. And I looked it up, and he's like on the cover. So he,
wow,
I described it pretty well, yeah.
Yeah, you did. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Demon Slayer. The premise of the show is you're in feudal Japan, like style. I'm assuming it is actually Japan, but it's a world where demons and magic exist and yada yada. So the premise of the show is you're this kid named Tanjiro, and the show starts with him carrying his sister on his back, and she's very badly wounded, and he's just crying like, stay alive, don't leave me, or whatever. And then it cuts to kind of earlier that day, and so he's got this family. He's the oldest son. His father passed, we don't know how, but we see his mom and his two younger siblings, or he's got two siblings who are like younger than 10, and then he's got another brother who's probably right at 10, and then he has an older sister, or not an older sister, but a sister who's probably his age, who's like 12, and he's like maybe 13 or 14. So he's still a kid, but he's kind of become the head of this house, whatever. And so he's working, he's going to sell charcoal so that they'll have plenty of food to eat later. Steven just sent me some picture in our thing, and I'm too curious.
It showed up when I looked.
Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer?
It showed up when I was looking up pictures from the anime.
I don't know if I can.
Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer.
This is it. That's the thing there. Anyway, so he's going to market to sell charcoal, whatever, trying to provide for his family. And the kid goes down, and it's really funny to me. There's when anime seems to like to do this more than probably any other medium, but sense of smell is like a big thing that when it's important for a character to have a sense of like that the character has a keen sense of smell, they really effing let you know that character has a keen sense of smell. So like he's loading up his charcoal, and his mom's like, "Are you sure you're gonna be able to make it down there?" And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry, mom. I can smell where I need to go." And it's like, okay, that's a weird flex. All right, whatever. You get to town, and people are greeting this kid. And they're like, "Oh, Tanjiro, do you have charcoal? Yeah, I need some, yada, yada." And then this one dude, it looks like he's getting beat up, or he's like running from the law or something. And he opens the door and sees Tanjiro. And he's like, "Tanjiro, please help me. I'm being accused of this crime, but I didn't commit it. Can you please smell this and tell them that I didn't break it?" And so it's like a broken plate, and Tanjiro sniffs it and is like, "I just smell a cat." And the lady's like, "He wasn't lying. It was my cat." And the guy's like, "Thank you." And I'm just like, what? Like, how did he just overcome? Okay, whatever. Moving on. And like, this is all in one episode. And then he sells his charcoal, and he's going home, and somebody stops him and is like, "Tanjiro, you can't go. It's getting too late. You need to stay with me tonight." And Tanjiro is like, "No, I have a great sense of smell. I can find my way home." And the guy's like, "No, demons are literally out tonight. You need to be just crash with me. It's no big deal." He's like Tanjiro calls him like Granddad Thomas or something. I don't know. They know him. It's not like a creepy thing. But anyway, but literally like in 15 minutes they've commented on Tanjiro's great sense of smell 3 times. But anyway, he spends the night with this guy. And wakes up the next day and goes home and finds his entire family murdered by a demon. And he
man, if only he'd been there, he could have warded them off with his sense of smell.
I know, he would have smelled the demons, Stephen, and they would have all been saved. You know. But anyway, so he gets there, finds them all dead, but he finds that his oldest sister was still warm. So he picks her up as kind of, this is the only person who I can do something with. And he picks her up and starts running to town to try and save her. and as they're going, she turns into a demon, like starts to transform into a demon. And so he is like struggling with her, and then a demon slayer shows up and is about to kill her, but Tanjiro basically convinces him not to kill her and to let him try and turn her back. And so that's kind of that's the trajectory of the show.
Jake.
Yeah.
Keep talking. William just texted me and said something about a fire in the sanctuary. So keep talking. Finish that. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Well. Yep. There you go.
We did not see any smoke. We did not smell anything. So, yeah, that was exciting.
Well, we're glad you're back and there's no fire. But yeah, that's Demon Slayer. It's really good. Steven, you would enjoy it as well.
Cool.
My favorite part about it is the feudal Japan setting. It's just very cool. Like even stupid stuff like watching them cook or eat in the show is really cool because it's just like, I don't know. It's very samurai Japanese style of doing everything,
right?
And I like that sort of stuff. So,
have you ever watched the anime Samurai 7?
No, I have not.
Probably has nothing to do with Demon Slayer, but it takes the old tale of the Seven Samurai. I don't know if it was a story before it was a classic film, but there's a story of these 7 samurai that defended a village from attack, and they went down as legend. Samurai 7 is an anime adaptation of that tale, but it's all futuristic. But the samurai still use swords and stuff. It's a very short anime. It's like maybe 15 episodes.
This is closer
but you should
to
totally
like
watch
a normal run of like 24 episodes. So,
yeah.
But that sounds interesting.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's pretty good. It's one of the first anime I actually watched to completion, and I loved it. So I definitely recommend it. But yeah, Demon Slayer. I'll check it out.
All right. Well, Steven, why don't you interject here now that you're not on fire and tell us about Borderlands 3.
So Borderlands 3 came out, and where to begin? Like, Jake, have you ever played a Borderlands game? I have
never played a Borderlands game.
Okay.
But I have been very interested in this one. I watched a little bit of your live stream of Borderlands 3. And if I hadn't have been working Saturday, I was probably this close to just biting the bullet and getting it. And I was going to suggest streaming that with you Saturday, but that didn't work out for me, so that's okay. But I'm thinking about getting it, but I just don't know.
So I guess we can turn this into
pitch.
Gosh, we'll probably have 2 of these segments today. Sales pitch. That's the segment. Here's the graphic. Sales pitch.
I was gonna say that should just be our review theme instead of bottom line. It should just be sales pitch.
Honestly, we could totally do game reviews and set it up as like the podcast format, and just be the review be me trying to sell you on a game. That's not a bad idea for a review show.
There you go. All right. So anyway, sell me on Borderlands 3.
All right. So Borderlands, just a general quick overview of the series. Borderlands was kind of the first big time that the looter shooter combined, like taking Diablo style loot with first person shooting mechanics, and putting it and playing as a character that has skill progression and stuff like that. It was a brilliant idea that seems just so simple today, but back when Borderlands 1 came out, it was a big deal. So Borderlands is kind of like the grandfather of that genre a little bit. It's a series that has super immature humor, and like its humor has not really matured at all, but I still laugh constantly.
So what does that say about you, Stephen?
That's what I kind of said to one of my friends that I was talking to after one of the streams. I was like, yeah, the humor hasn't really changed much, but I still laugh, so I'm not sure what that says about myself as a person. But
the series hasn't matured any, and neither have any of us, so it's still great.
But it manages to tell a pretty good story with fun, likable characters, while being just hilarious.
Right.
But I'll move on from there. Borderlands 3, just as a surface statement, is the kind of sequel that is going to make it hard to play any of the games before it. And that's completely said as a compliment.
Right.
Because Borderlands 2, in my opinion, was the best of the franchise. But pre-sequel was a game that came after Borderlands 2, but playing Borderlands 2 again didn't feel like you were taking steps backwards, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But with Borderlands 3, if I was to go play Borderlands 2 today, I would feel like the gameplay was nowhere near as good.
Right.
And that'll segue into just talking about the gameplay itself. The shooting mechanics are super tight, like really good. Like guns feel punchy. The aiming isn't overly sensitive. It's got a nice. It feels kind of snappy, which in the past has not been the case so much with Borderlands, because Borderlands has felt more like RPG and looter first, shooter second. But now it almost feels like they're on equal footing.
The guns, I think, are the thing that interests me most.
Oh my gosh, the guns. Oh, okay. So Borderlands guns are, for the most part, procedural. As in, loot is randomly generated. Guns can be randomly generated. So you could get something as crazy as, in the previous games, a sniper rifle that fires with a spinning barrel. So it's basically a sniper rifle minigun that shoots fire. Like, you can get stuff like that. In this game, and this is one of the bigger changes that, again, makes it hard to look at returning to Borderlands 2, or any Borderlands before it, there are different manufacturers of different weapons. They're, just to name a few, Malawan, Atlas, Hyperion, Torg, Vladof, Jacobs, just to name a few. So the whole point with that is that it's like a gun archetype. Like when you have a Jacobs pistol, for example, it's a revolver. When you have a Malawan weapon, it's most likely an elemental gun. When you have a Torg gun, it's going to shoot explosions. Hyperion weapons are more high-tech and become more accurate the longer you fire them. Vladof guns feel more like standard guns. So, like, if you want just like a regular assault rifle that may have an elemental effect that functions like guns that feel like they're from other FPS games, that's mostly what Vladof guns are, and so on and so on. That is speaking for the previous games.
Right.
In this game, they took it so many steps further. So now, Malawan weapons, for example, not only do they I think they always have an elemental effect on them, but you can toggle the elemental effect. So, like, for a while, I had a sniper rifle that, well, the SMG is probably a better example. I had an SMG that, it was like, it was an SMG, but it was Malawan. So when I pulled the trigger, I had to hold it for like just a second to get it revved, and then it would go. And I could press down on the D-pad to switch it between fire and corrosive. So, sorry, Brody texted me. I'll get that later. Just to talk about a few more, Vladof, which is, they've always been my favorite weapon manufacturer, and now that's even more true. Vladof weapons have alternating, like alternate fire modes.
Right.
And I'm not talking like full automatic, semi-automatic, but DAL weapons, DAHL, they do have fire rate changing. Vladof, you could have an assault rifle, and when you press down on the D-pad, the barrel literally flips upside down, and then suddenly it's a grenade launcher. So, like, the manufacturer not only just now makes it to where, like, you kind of know going in, like, oh, this is a Jacobs assault rifle, so it's going to be semi-automatic. But now it's like, this could mean so many different things. The guns are procedural again, but they all feel deliberate, which is really impressive. I can't even begin to describe some of the guns I've gotten. I got this. I think it might have been a Jacobs. I think it was Jacobs because it didn't have an alt function. It was a shotgun that had a bayonet on it, which means that it overrode my melee and did more damage. It was clip fed, so I could reload all of my stuff at once. I didn't have to individually load in shells. And since it was whatever the manufacturer was, its trigger system was like a double action, so I could fire 2 shots quickly before I had to cock the lever. So it was a really good double tap gun. And it also was dependent on my class. It had a function specific for the Beastmaster where when I activated my ability, I did more radiation damage or whatever. Anyway, that's one gun that has been like my baby since I got it. And I'll try to move on here because there's more to say, but the guns it's addicting. Like it really is addicting when you're looting and everything, because you just find so many fun guns that sometimes you get attached to them, and unfortunately, until you get to end game, you really can't, because you're just constantly leveling up. But the game does a really good job, and more so than any of the games in the past, at keeping you equipped. Because in the past, if, for example, you wanted an assault rifle that fired like a regular assault rifle that had an elemental effect, that was a tall order for a lot of the previous games. So you kind of just were forced to use the guns they gave you, which it was still fun, still a blast. But this game gives you a lot more variety, it feels like. To where, like, the store that you can go to at the beginning of each different area, they can sell really high tier stuff, and you can afford it. That's the big difference. In 1 and 2, that stuff always was out of your price range. One more manufacturer I'll talk about just because I remembered them. Atlas, which, if you played Tales from the Borderlands, Reese, the main character, is now the CEO of Atlas. So a portion of the campaign, you're actually helping him. So Atlas, their guns are reverse engineered from like alien tech. So they look like wrist mounted guns, basically. And if you wanted an Atlas pistol, for example, it would be a gun that you held in your hand that was like a wrist launcher, and it would have a regular firing function, and then its alt fire, which you'd press down on the D-pad to swap it over, it would have like a homing beacon. So let's say you swap over to the homing beacon and you pop out of cover, and then bam, you shoot the boss with the tracking dart. Then you go back into cover, and then you just look outside the cover and just start rapid firing your gun. The bullets curve and always find their target.
Ooh, interesting.
So Atlas guns, a lot of them come with that ability to paint a target to where your bullets will always hit them no matter where you're aimed. Cool. Which is really cool. Really cool. So the guns are great. The guns are so fun, but the characters, Borderlands has been kind of upping the ante with their characters every single game to where they've added more of what the characters can do. But this game, I think they absolutely nailed it this time, because, and I'm just going to talk about the characters that I know very briefly, probably more about Flak than the others because I've played the most as Flak.
So you've been playing
each
Flak.
Character. Oh yeah, Flak is my boy. Like he was a character that was literally designed for me. I like Zane a lot.
I thought
and if
you
I
were
play
playing
with
as
somebody
Zane for some reason. I don't know why.
I played as Zane in the first live stream.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And then from that point on, I played as Flak because I played Zane because I figured I would probably solo with him more. But then I swapped over to Flak the next day when I was playing my own time, and I was like, oh, I'm Flak. I got to play Flak.
So can you switch between those characters? Is it like in Destiny where like you got your Titan, but you've got to kind of level up your Titan and spend time with your Titan?
It's Destiny. It's Destiny rules.
Okay, great.
Where characters are like you progress with the characters by level and by story. But this game actually has scaling now. So I could bring my level 18 Flak to play with your level whatever. And I probably won't be killing everything too hard, and all of my loot that I'll be getting will be scaled towards me. There's instanced loot now, which is a first for the series.
That's cool.
Yeah, very nice. So the characters are Amara the Siren, who you would probably really like playstyle-wise, because she's just in-your-face melee kind of magic character. And I'm not going to talk about her at all because I haven't played her, so I don't know anything. I just know that she is meant to be like an up-close brawler play style that uses like magic to punch people. There's Mose the Gunner, which has a Titanfall mech. Zane, who feels the most like Borderlands characters we've gotten in the past, but I'll explain more on that in a second. And then there's Flak the Beastmaster. So in the past, characters have they've had 3 skill trees that you can level up in all of them to kind of make your build. But then you have the action skill, which in the past, each character has had 1 action skill. For example, the soldier class has a turret, always. The Zero, who you would have liked in Borderlands 2, you would have loved him. His action skill was that he cloaked and left behind a decoy of himself to draw fire. And when he was in cloaking, he could like decloak with a melee to deal massive damage. So he was like an assassin sword character. In this game, every character not only has the 3 skill trees, but they also have 3 active skills to choose from, as well as up to 2 passives for each active skill.
Wow.
What that means is, let's use Zane as an example. And this is explaining these concepts is how I'll talk about the character, so I can cut down on time a little bit. Zane, his 3 action skills are Digiclone, which is where he makes a clone of himself to shoot enemies, and he can press the button again to swap places with it. Then there's the Sentinel drone, which is just a drone that he throws out to help him shoot things. And then the energy barrier, which is he throws down a wall that blocks incoming projectiles, but you can shoot through it. And your team actually deals increased damage when shooting through that barrier.
Nice.
So each one of his trees is correlated to one of those action skills. That doesn't mean that you can only use those skills if you're deep in those trees, but there are likely skills in those trees that correlate to that skill, if that makes sense. But it's more so pointing towards, like, this skill tree is where most of my damage dealing comes from. This skill tree is where most of my survivability comes from. That's mostly what it does. So, like, you could use an action skill and not even use its tree at all and probably make a really good build.
Gotcha.
So, Zane, the difference with him, he can have 2 action skills equipped at once. As long as he sacrifices using a grenade. So he can't throw grenades if he has 2 action skills, but that's a price I'm willing to pay whenever I play him, because that means I can Digiclone and Sentinel Drone, or Digiclone and Energy Barrier, and so on. And then you can have up to 2 passives that change the behavior of your active skills. So moving on to Mose, for example, actually, I'll use Flak here because he makes a little more sense to me. Flak, out of his 3 skills, he has Fade Away, which stealths him, Rack Attack, which summons like a flock of pterodactyl things to attack, and then Gamma Burst, which is what I use, which is where he creates a field that teleports his pet to that area, and then they become like mutated, like really big for a brief time. So let's use Gamma Burst as an example. I have a mod that I can equip, one of my 2 passives for Gamma Burst, that makes it to where my pet, when Gamma Burst is active, has a radiation field around him that always deals damage. There's another passive that makes it to where it stays longer, and while it's there, it heals nearby allies. So the passives kind of change how you play the character almost.
Interesting.
So Flak also, and this is what's so great, because all of the characters feel super different. And this is where Flak and Mose will come into play, explanation-wise. Flak always has a pet with him, and you have 3 options. You can evolve the pet, depending on how far you are in a skill tree, like a Pokemon. Like my Skag, which is basically a wild dog in the Borderlands universe, which, by the way, named him Skagathor. Okay. I expected a little more. He evolved. I was able to choose what his next form would be because you have, I think, the basic and then 2 additional options for each pet. He's a horn Skag now, so he can like charge into enemies, like he can trample them. So Flak has that in addition to his 2 passives for his active skill. Then there's Mose, who I played this with Anna a little bit, trying to get her into FPS games. Mose has a Titanfall mech she can drop in. But while Flak can select his pet, Mose selects the guns that go on her mech. So you can have a railgun in your left hand, a minigun in your right hand, or 2 grenade launchers, 1 in each hand, 2 miniguns, a minigun, and a grenade launcher, any combination of those. And then she goes through her skill trees, which I'm sure she can have passives and stuff equipped. So every character feels really unique, and there's a lot of deviation with the characters. So if you played Flak, your Flak would be different from my Flak, probably. So just top-notch effort on their part with the characters and the guns. They all feel next level. There's a lot of quality of life things, like there's more end game in this game, like there's different modes to do once you beat it. There's like a horde mode, and then there is a basically Diablo Rift mode, which those are both music to my ears. They have a machine that if you miss any loot, it goes to the machine.
Nice.
And so you can go and retrieve lost loot, which is really nice. What else? There's just a lot, man. Like it feels like a massive game. It feels like it's going to get a lot of support, and it feels like a game that's a game as service, but it's not.
Right.
Like it has all of the positives of a games as service title, but none of the drawbacks, which is really cool. The humor is great. I'm not gonna mention any specific moments because it's hard to. I've been laughing the whole way through. But my expectations have been exceeded with Borderlands 3. Absolutely, for sure. And for anyone who likes the FPS genre, for anyone who likes the looter genre, for anyone who likes couch co-op, it's got something for everybody. It really does. So props to Gearbox. They've done what we were all worried they wouldn't do, and that is just take everything that we love about Borderlands, modernize it, but don't lose the soul of what it is, you know? Like, they've kept it true to itself while it has managed to elevate and not feel like it's stuck in the past. Its humor is absolutely stuck in the past, but it's like that fun friend from like high school where it's like, and I don't know any of this because I was homeschooled and I live in my hometown. So it's like, I imagine guys who are past high school, you know, they've moved on, they're adults now, they're successful, but when they go back to their hometown, there's that dude who has not evolved past senior year. Like he's still just, you know, drinking, hanging out at the football games and everything, and he's fun to be around. He's fun to be around.
That's Borderlands.
And you yeah, that's Borderlands. But you know, I don't know. That's not the best example. That's how its sense of humor is. How about that?
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend it. Did you have any questions?
You kind of
touched
on all my questions. I think the thing. I don't know. Really, what's holding me back is money. I'm trying with Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening coming out, and then Untitled Goose Game, which Untitled Goose Game is going to be a nicely priced game, but just other life things I'm dealing with. I'm trying not to spend a ton of money right now, so I don't really want to justify a $60 game that I may like, kind of thing. But I definitely think if it drops even just $10 on a sale or something, or Black Friday, is not that far away, I may jump into this. But the other what I was going to say was the other thing that's kind of holding me back is I haven't really just identified with any of the characters of just like, I want to play this person. Because who was the girl you mentioned with the melee?
Amara?
Yeah. So I've seen her, and hers is she has 4 magic arms or 6 magic arms or whatever, and she flails those around and does all that. I like the idea of a melee character. I just don't know if I like that style. Flack is really the only one that I've seen, and hearing you talk more about Zane, was it? I think I could run Zane and be happy with him. But I don't know.
I mean, you would have fun with any of them. But I completely get not resonating with a character, because I have a hard time with that with certain games where if I don't feel like I'm attached to a character, I have a hard time playing them. But I will say that I would, unless you've already done this, I would look up Amara specifically and see what her different options are, because I know we've all seen her do the 6 arms.
I haven't seen her. I haven't seen anyone play her. I've only really seen Flack and then watching a minute of you playing Zane. I was like, I might could play as him. So I should look into her. You would really like Zane and Amara as characters. Because Amara's just this tough chick who's getting into fights, and she just is looking for the next fight. And Zane is just a drunk Irishman that sounds like Colin Farrell. So, okay, see, Steven's speaking the language. He's getting there.
But I would just seriously suggest looking at videos, just guides of what they can do, both of them. And honestly, it will help playing a character that you like, but it's not the end of the world if you don't find a character who has the action skills that you want to play, because the guns themselves are so fun to where it would be a fun game even without the action skills.
And that's the guns have been pulling me in, and if there had been a character that I just was gotta play him, oh man, I'm pumped about what that guy can do, it would be a sold deal for me.
If Zero was playable in this game, you'd have bought 3 copies already.
I don't know about 3, but I would have had a copy.
Although Zero is in the game. He's just an NPC though.
Gotcha. Well, and that's the other thing is I do this all the time, but I hate jumping in to the third in a series and not really understanding all of it. So, which I've got the what is it, Happy Jacks collection or whatever. So I could have been using all this time to play through.
It's almost like I told you that you should do that. Months ago.
Yeah. I didn't know I would have this itch to play it, but anyway, I may get it, and we'll have to stream you showing me around, show me the ropes. You can lose your glasses, and I can get kidnapped and suggest that we split up, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, speaking of things that I was doing instead of playing Borderlands, I think this was actually the night that you did your live stream with Zane playing Borderlands. I told you I wasn't going to end up staying up that late, and I didn't have intentions of staying up as late as I did, but after you got off to kind of go, I guess, eat dinner or hang out with Anna, whatever, before you were going to jump back in at 11 to play Borderlands, I was like, you know what? I've got an itch to play a VR game. And Lee Allison was out of town Thursday night, so it was the last night that I would just have all night to do something. And so I went and looked through my VR library, and I found Accounting Plus. And as I mentioned earlier, Steven and I had gotten the game knowing it would be funny and I'd want to play through it. But we had a party with a bunch of folks. I mean, it was me, Brody, Logan, who you've all seen on the channel, and then Miles, who you, depending on how long you've been with us, you may or may not know Miles, and then all of our girlfriends and everything. But we were hanging out at Brody's place, and I had brought the VR system over, And we were playing a bunch of different games. This is when we introduced Logan to Super Hot, and he thought he had to move at normal speed. He didn't understand you could slow mo.
We told him like 80 times, the world moves when you move, and he's like, oh, okay, got it. And then as soon as the missions start, he's like swinging and just going everywhere. It's like, Logan.
Gosh. Anyway, Miles played through Accounting Plus during that, and we all laughed and we rolled, and it was a great experience. And honestly, like, I would have paid just to have Miles play it for me, which is what had basically happened. Right. But anyways, that was at least a year ago. So I saw that one and I was like, that
was like 2 years ago.
It really might have been, yeah. But anyway, I saw that one and I was like, this is one that I vaguely remember what Miles did, but we were all laughing at Miles, and Miles was commentating that I really only caught bits and pieces of what was being said. So I was like, so I'll play this. So I jump in, I go through the whole thing. I'm having a great time. Steven, I don't remember how much you remember of how the game works, but and viewers, if you haven't seen gameplay of this, the way it works, it's a Rick and Morty game. The creators of Rick and Morty made it. It's very funny. It has their sense of humor, the whole 9 yards. But basically, you start by putting on VR goggles and going into the VR world, and you're playing a game called Accounting Plus. And in that game, you're an accountant, right? And so you get into that game, and they're like, okay, this is VR accounting. Like, this is so exciting, whatever. And they reveal another VR goggle, and you put them on, but it didn't work. It sent you to the wrong VR plane or whatever. So then you're in this place called Tree World, and there's this guy that comes out of a hole in a tree, and he's just yelling at you, and he's like, hey, F you.
Get out of here. This is my world.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So anyway, then he presents you a VR thing. You figure out a teeny tiny little puzzle to get to his VR goggles. That takes you to another world, and eventually you end up killing the king of VR. You like open up his gut and pull out his heart, and his heart is a VR goggles, and you go into like Bone World, and then you play some bones, and the only way to get out of Bone World...
Play my bone. That was one of my bones. Oh, you play those bones so good.
At that point, there is one more world deep you can go, but you kind of have to know how to get there. But anyway, so at that point, if you're just playing through for the first time, you find acid, and you end up pouring that on yourself to kill yourself. And so then you're coming back through what you just went into. So, Bone World.
It's like the climax of Inception.
Right, exactly. So just like Inception, you kind of have to come back up through all the layers of what you did. So anyway, I've played through all of these, and I come back to Tree World. And something I think we did with Miles, but we didn't. Again, it was just so chaotic. None of us really thought through what was happening. But when you first get to Tree World, there's a seed. And if you plant that seed in a pot, when you come back after dying, there will be a plant that has grown and has sprouted an apple that a worm is poking out of. And so when you die and you come back to Tree World, it's on fire because you messed something up. And there's a giant bomb. And once you touch this bomb, it's stuck to your hand, and the fuse lights. And so you're just waiting to die at that point. But if you planted that seed and you got that plant to grow and there's an apple there, if you pick up that apple and look behind it, there's another set of VR goggles. So we didn't notice that when we watched Miles play it. I had never seen anybody do that. I knew that seed probably did something, but I picked it up and I was looking at it. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And literally seconds before the bomb blew up, I saw that it was VR goggles, and I was like, oh, I can keep going. And so I put them on and went into the next world. And then I regretted it immediately, because if you go into that world, the game starts over, but it's a horror game now. And so I put that VR goggle on, and I wake up, and I'm in this dark room. And the only light is I can see a computer monitor that has Accounting Plus running on it. like the version that you were supposed to be playing, like the accounting game. And so I see that, and I'm like, what is that? Where am I? And like you can press a button to like reveal where you can move. And so I did that, and I couldn't go anywhere. And that's when I saw it. There was a giant foot in front of me. And I looked to see what that foot is connected to. And there is a Titan person. And when I say that, I mean like Attack on Titan, the like Titan monsters. One of those that is like bone thin. So like the Slender Man of Titan World was hunched in this room with VR goggles on, body stretched out all the way around the wall. And he's just like, oh yeah, I love accounting. Hey guys, how are those numbers going? And he's got like razor sharp teeth. And Steven, I am sitting in his lap basically, and I am just like, I have locked up. I am frozen with fear. I was just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? And I was just looking around. I was like, where can I go? Where can I teleport? How do I get out of this? And I'm like, there's got to be another set of goggles. How do I kill myself? Like, I am just, no. I am done. I'm like, we are not. And there is a button that just lets you escape to the menu. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play this out, but I wanted to get out of that situation. So after probably, no joke, 20 minutes of just standing there, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, I was kind of like, I'm here now. I've just got to play this out. And so I know his VR goggles are probably my way out, but I don't know what I'm going to have to do to get them. So there's a bunch of like junk, like trash that you can grab. And so I'm like, I'm probably just going to have to throw this at his face. So I grab like a ramen noodle pack and I throw it at his face. And he goes, what? Who's there? And he pulls the mask off and he's like, you're the accountant. You're from the game. And I reach out, I grab his VR goggles, and I go. And I was just like, I don't care where this takes me. I just want out. Again, I regretted that immediately. Now I'm in a world controlled by him in VR. So I'm in Tree World again, but it's garbage. I mean, there's garbage everywhere. And he, in Tree World, there's like a phone that pops up, and normally it's the regular accountants, and they're like, oh no, you went to the wrong place, yada yada. But it's him, and he's like, can you see me? I can still see you. You're still right here with me. And it's just like, oh my God. And so anyway, I'm not going to spoil the rest of it, but you play through basically the same. You go to almost all the different same worlds, but now there's a horror twist. And so like Tree World, the guy who was like, hey, F you, this is my world, this is my world. He doesn't say anything to you, but he's looking at you like he's terrified for your life. And so anyway, you play through this whole scenario, and then once you get to the end of this, you don't die and come all the way back. It just sends you straight to the menu. So I still don't really know if I've done it right, but it was terrifying. And
why didn't you like immediately just hit stream? Like in moments like that, just record it, stream it, do something.
I should have. I really should have, because it was terrifying. I mean, I kid you not, I stood there for probably 15 minutes trying to figure out what am I supposed to do, because I don't want to disturb this man.
I did a quick Google search to see if I could find what you're talking about. I think I saw the face.
His face
that you're referring to, and it was like,
his face is creepy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It was terrifying. So anyway,
yeah, I'm gonna watch the levels later because I'm very curious.
It's
they probably added that into the game after Miles played it, because they've been adding on to that game for a while.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a conspiracy about a secret zoo level that may or may not exist.
Yeah. So that was another reason why I was like, oh yeah, I'll play this, because like I know we didn't get, like, you probably remember the secret level that we went to, Steven, where you needed like a special coin to get in. Like, I knew I wanted to figure that out, so I did that. And then when I realized that wasn't the zoo level, I was like, well, let me back up and see where that is. And so I found my way to that, supposedly what that is, there's like a clown who is telling you all the conspiracies about the zoo level, but he's basically at the end, he's like, I don't even know if it's real. He was like, I'm supposed to be there. Like, I'm the thing that they teased, and I don't even know where it is. And so I don't know if that's the extent of the joke, or is there really a zoo level?
So Matt Pat did a theory on it that's actually pretty funny. So I would recommend, if you are curious about the zoo level, I would recommend looking up his video on game theory. I think his conclusion is that it doesn't exist.
I don't think it does either. After watching the clown, because like the clown kept saying, I kept seeing the phrase "look in clown's ass," and I was expecting a moment where he would bend over or do something, and I would see VR goggles, and I would have to grab him and, do whatever. And so, anyway, but that never worked out. So I don't know if it exists either, but we'll see. Oh, actually, I don't know that I'll ever play it again. I played it to nauseum after that.
I'm so excited to look up these videos of what you experienced.
Please let me know.
That sounds awful.
I should have hit record. I don't know why. I was so shocked and terrified. It was just I didn't know what to do. But anyway, that's my scary story. Steven, tell us about Daemon X Machina. Take us home.
Time for another episode. Graphic here. Here's the graphic. Sales pitch. That's what we called it, right?
Sales pitch, yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't actually expect you to put a graphic
don't worry.
in these.
Future Jake is not about that right now.
But Daemon X Machina. Going into this, sorry, hold on.
No, sorry, you hold on.
It's Sunday. I'm a busy boy on Sundays. So going into Daemon X Machina, I wanted just the new Armored Core, basically. Which Armored Core, for those that don't know, I wouldn't blame you, because the most recent one was like Armored Core 5 on the Xbox 360. And that was in like 2011. But it is a series where you play as a mercenary who is the pilot of a mech. You work with other mercenaries, and other factions are giving you jobs to work against other factions. Like, it's this whole thing. And you can build multiple mechs. Like, you might want to make a heavy mech that can take a beating, so you would put different parts on that. Then you would a mech that you might want to be like really light and use just swords. So it's basically just building different robot suits for different situations. That's basically what Daemon X Machina is. It takes the concept and a lot of the spirit of Armored Core, and it brings it to the new generation, and says, we aren't just Armored Core, we are our own thing. But for fans of Armored Core, this is it now. Like, hop on this train, because this is the new standard. The director of the game worked on the Armored Core games, so like it's very intentional. So I'm not going to go into plot or premise or anything here,
because it's not important.
Because it feels it is important, and there's kind of an interesting conspiracy story happening. Because the whole story is about the moon crashed into. Well, I guess I'm going into plot and premise. The moon crashed into Earth, and when that happened, it released what was called femto, which is like this. If I had to explain it, I would say, like, think of like the Terrigen mists from the Inhumans.
Oh yeah.
Like it changed certain people and gave them abilities, but it also had different effects. It made it to where there's what are called immortals, which are corrupted AI, basically. So what you're fighting in this game, you are a mercenary being hired by different coalitions to fight against the corrupt AI that is taking over different suits and weapons, and you're like sent on missions to take care of it. The Outers, I think, is what they're called. I think they go by a different name, but the Outer is basically the name for a pilot. Arsenal is the name for their mech. The Outers are able to pilot their suits because of femto and their ability to manipulate it. So pilots aren't just, people who sit in a robot suit. They actually have the ability to like control femtoparticles. All that being said, the story is kind of convoluted, but there is an interesting conspiracy as to like what's actually going on, because it definitely feels like there's some shady stuff going on. But surprisingly, the characters are really cool. Like, they're really good. It has a Fire Emblem tone to it, because there are different mercenary groups. And whenever you accept a story mission, you're not the only one accepting the mission usually. Right. There are other people there who, like, there's Bullet Works, there's the Seven Hells, Western Seven, or Five Hells, Western Seven. And there's different mercenary groups, and they might be there, and they might say, like, well, this doesn't sound like a good fit for my group, and then they'll leave the chat room. So you're seeing these characters interact with each other. And you can actually, if you go on missions enough with other characters, you can request their help in missions.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and the different pilots play different ways. So there's this guy named like Gargantua or something like that, and he's just this dude who literally carries 2 giant maces and just super heavy and bulky. So if you get enough of a relationship with him, and like, I'm playing a long-range, light, like, I need someone to take the brunt of everything, then you could request him to join you. But the flip side of that is that you have to pay a fee to get his services. Which the fee is generous, honestly. But so that being said, the characters are the most interesting story element, and I've enjoyed getting to know them. Like, there's this one group called Innocence, and that's what the troop is called. And their whole thing is that, like, people don't know how they're still alive, because they just, like, a lot of members of Innocence get shot down, but they never die. And so, like, whenever Innocence is in a mission briefing, one of the other people, they're like, "How are you not dead? Like, seriously, what?" And they're just like, "Don't worry about it. I need the money. I gotta repair my arsenal, so I gotta take this job." And then they get shot down in the job. So, but they just won't die. And then there's this other team. It's just this brother duo named Deva and Zoa. Their parents were killed by mercenaries, or they were mercenaries and they were killed, something like that. And so they dedicated their lives to basically being heroes for those who need help. So they take every job that can help somebody. And so then they're really cool characters. I think I've got Zoa to where I can bring him on missions. But there's a mission that I just did where I was hired by Orbital, which is basically the company that owns the mercenaries. Right. I was hired by them to test an arsenal. Well, they were basically going to study my arsenal, but the thing they were studying was me fighting Deva and Zoa at the same time. And I actually streamed this mission. So if you want to check it out, it's pretty cool, because you're like fighting them while they're telling you their story. Right. And you have to fight them both at the same time, and it's rough. But I beat it, and it was in a pretty cool way. But I'll get to that in a second when I talk about gameplay. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about gameplay. So the reason you get this game is the customization. The suit customization is pretty in depth. The pieces are, you've got the pieces you can change are head, torso, right arm, left arm, legs, processor, and that's just for armor. And each of those pieces does a different thing. Like, legs are going to affect your mobility the most. Torso is going to affect your memory, so like how big of pieces you can add to your suit. Like this one piece of machinery might be like a really complex piece, so it has a lot of memory that it takes. So your torso is going to be where your memory comes from, mostly. Head is like lock-on ability, stuff like that. So you're building this puzzle basically to see like what is going to get me the most optimal to what I want to do. Sorry, my throat.
My throat's killing me too. I don't know what it is. Something going around.
I think I'm talking too much. Yeah. So then you've got weapons. You've got a weapon in your right hand, your left hand. Then you've got reserve weapons, which are called pylons, which those basically are holstered. Then you've got an auxiliary, which is like a support function that is on like your back or on your outer shoulders. And then you've got a shoulder weapon, which is on your back, which that was confusing the way I worded that. And I'm not going to talk about every single piece of gear, but just since this is a sales pitch portion of the podcast, I'm going to talk about some of the cool things that you can do. So let's say we were making Jake a suit.
That's me. I'm Jake.
That's Jake. You're going to want to do swords, obviously. So there are certain pieces that lend themselves to swordsmanship or mobility, so you'd obviously be very mobile. You wouldn't be able to take much of a hit, though, probably, so that I would recommend you taking a shield. So let's say you've got a shield in your left hand, a sword in your right hand, but you've got those reserve weapons that you can use. You might think, well, I'm going to need something to hit with range, just in case I do need to back up and still keep the enemy back a little bit. You might bring like a small machine gun on your left shoulder. So if you need to back up, you could, and the shoulder doesn't correlate to your hand necessarily. Right. So you can put the left shoulder weapon in your right hand, which is very useful. So you might need to back up so you can swap out the sword for the gun, and then you're able to shoot and move while you're still blocking with your shield. And then you might think, but what about those times when I just want to go absolutely nuts, 2 swords, just going in chain comboing everything? You can put a sword on your right shoulder. So if you're not worried about defense, you could put your shield on your back, or, and this is what happened in the Deva-Zoa fight, you could just chunk it and be like, it's weighing me down. I'm going to get rid of this shield, and then I'm going to just get the speed from it, pull out my dual swords, and just go.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I'll explain what I did in the Deva-Zoa fight now since we're talking about it. I was running out of ammo in the Deva-Zoa fight. That was my main problem. So my mission was to take out Deva first, because he was the close range fighter and Zoa was the long range fighter. So I managed to kill Deva and was almost out of ammo. So my shield got broken. The shield can break, but it isn't lost. It's just out for that mission. So when I defeated Deva, I tossed my assault rifle and then checked his corpse, because whenever not corpse, but his crashed suit, you can loot gear off of crashed suits. Right. I checked his suit and I was hoping for a sword, and sure enough, he had a beam sword. So I took his beam sword and then put it on my back and started fighting Zoa until I was close to running out of ammo. And so then it got to the point where I was close to being out of ammo. I just had a few missiles left in my shoulder. So I pretty much was like, all right, Zoa, I'm having a hard time keeping up with you. You want to dance? Let's dance. Threw both of my guns off of my character, pulled out the sword, and had nothing but a sword in my right hand and then some missile pods on my back. And I started being able to keep up with him. That's awesome. And eventually I was able to stun him to where I got up on him and just started cutting him to pieces with his brother's sword. It was pretty awesome. It was super cool. So that's you are given the ability to create these solutions to like what you want to do. Like, you want to be a sword character, but you see a problem, like I might need a ranged weapon. Done. You can add some small arms that won't weigh you down too much, but you'll still be able to fire from a distance in case you need to back up and recalculate. The shoulder weapons are really cool. They range from missile pods that can lock to, and there are different types of missile pods. There's one that all fire clusters together. There's ones that fire individual missiles. There's ones that fire missiles straight up that fall down. Those are pretty cool. Then there are railguns and cannons. I just got these last night. It's literally, so there's a railgun is like in this game, it's like a charged laser gun. You can only fire it when you're on the ground, which for me is a big no-go because I'm aerial. Right. Like, I've got to stay in the air all the time. but you can only fire it when you're on the ground, but you don't have to be standing still. So you could be like skating across the ground, holding down the fire button, and it'll fold forward over your shoulder, fire this huge blast while you might be like dodging or whatever.
Right.
And it does a crap load of damage. The cannon is kind of like a quicker answer to that, to where you got this cannon over your shoulder, you press the button, you fire it, and it staggers you kind of quickly, but you can fire it wherever. You don't have to be grounded. And then there's laser cannons, and I'm saying this because I just got these pieces and I'm really excited about what they mean for the game. There's a laser cannon, which it's just 2 big bars just going straight up. And when you fire it, you can hold it down and they fold forward and they just launch a massive beam, and you can hold it so you can sustain fire. So shoulder weapons are really cool.
Yeah, all I've experienced in the demo was just the little missile launcher thing. So
yeah,
it's cool to know that there's a lot more coming.
Yeah, it really opens up. And also, last thing I'll say about like weapons and stuff, there are arms that are weapons. So you could get an arm that's a machine gun or an assault rifle or a bazooka or a shotgun, maybe a sword arm, like an arm that's literally just a sword. So like, the advantage...
You could have an arm that is a sword, but you're holding a gun.
No.
Okay.
The arm becomes the weapon.
I understand.
And the advantage of that is you don't have to carry a weapon, so you're lighter.
Gotcha.
So if you know, like, I'm going to use a sword in this hand at all times, you can lower your weight and your memory usage, and it just looks cool.
That sounds awesome.
Because, like, the assault rifle one is literally just, like, an arm that goes out, but it's just a barrel that's got the, like, it just looks cool. I'll have to show you guys. Mm-hmm. But I've thought about doing that for me, because I always have an assault rifle in my left hand. Mm-hmm. But it just, the more I play it, like, I was right when I said that I felt like the game was going to be a slow start. It is. Because it takes a while to get into the good gear. Like, you start really getting good stuff when you get to C rank, which it's not that long. I was at C rank within, like, I think 5 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once you get there, that's when the, like, unique weapons start showing up. The different, more specific armor gear shows up. Mm-hmm. You can modify your pilot's body enhancements. Mm-hmm. Like, you can give him leg implants so he can double jump. You can give him eye implants so he can lock on when he's not in his suit, which, by the way, I forgot to mention this. You can totally bail out of your suit whenever you want, or if your suit dies, you actually are on foot. And you can spec out how your character fights on foot, too, through those body enhancements. Mm-hmm. And, Jake, I was telling you that if we play this together, I totally see you... just like we start a mission, you're like, all right, I'm out, and then you get out of your suit and you just got your sword as a human, and you're just running towards things. Which
if we ever play together, that's almost 100% how I'll play.
Yeah,
because that'll give me the freedom to kind of let you do some of the heavy lifting, and I just can go crazy.
Right, but it's an option that you can do. It just. The game continues to surprise me. Mm-hmm. There have been so many moments, and I'm going to talk about this mission specifically. I touched on it before the podcast, but this game continues to give me those moments where I just walk away from a mission just like, I'm going to remember that.
Right. That
was just really cool. Like, and that's, if I could just describe the game, it would just be, it's a really cool game.
Yeah.
It's got such a cool aesthetic to it. The sound design is really good. The music is insane. It's so good. It's better than Doom. I like the soundtrack to DXM better than Doom. I've said it. There we go. We can move on with our lives.
That's a tall order.
It is, but like, I'm telling you, when you play it and like get into those intense moments, and you hear that music in your ears, you're going to be like, I get it. I get it. Yeah. So this mission that I had to do, the first mission I did on stream on Saturday night, was an infiltration mission that was only open to me. Mm-hmm. and they were like, "Hey, you need to pilot your you need to steal this arsenal that Zen, this faction, has made, so that we can study it and level the playing field between factions. Basically, not allowing one faction to get above the other. It's real shady." So I had to infiltrate without my arsenal. So I'm on foot, and I haven't made any upgrades to my outer yet, because the upgrades do change the way your character looks, which is a bummer when you upgrade your face, because it just becomes a mess. But so I did that mission. Okay, sorry. William was texting me. He's the one that told me that there may or may not be a fire. I was just making sure. So I did that mission, and I hadn't upgraded my outer yet. So I'm like panicking a little bit because I don't know what I'm going to do. And this is all on live stream, so you can watch it. It's at the very beginning. I recommend everyone does it that's remotely curious. And so I finally get to the arsenal, and I load up. And the AI is like, "All right, proceed to the evacuation point. Don't damage the suit. That's really important to the success of this mission." And so I head towards that.
Great.
And then alerts are going off. And then she's like, "Enemy reinforcements approaching." And then the evacuation ship blows up.
Oh, gosh.
And so she's just like recalculating, all while metal guitar riff is playing in my ears. And I see stuff flying towards me. And she's like, "Head to this location." And I turn around and I'm flying, which, by the way, this suit, super good suit.
Yeah.
Like it's really good specs. Its only weapon is its right arm, and it's a shotgun. Shotguns in this game are not great.
Right.
So I'm just like, I have no option but to flee. So I'm just running, trying to outmaneuver him and everything. And she takes me to this tunnel. And it gets to this point where she's just like, "Proceed through this tunnel, straight shot." Not literally just a straightaway, but like just following the tunnel, all of its curves will get me to the evacuation point. And so she says that there are enemy arsenals on my tail. There are mercenaries that have been hired to stop me from doing this mission on my tail.
Gotcha.
So she says, "You should hurry." So there's a dead arsenal next to me, so I go up to it and I grab a machine gun or assault rifle. Like I was able to loot something off it. And so I'm going. I'm like boosting as fast as I can, skating across the ground, trying to maneuver through the tunnel. And then I hear this one dude, Red Dog, I think is his name. He's one of the first arsenals I fought. He's just like, "I'm gonna get you," and he's like chasing after me. And then next thing I know, it's him and this other chick are coming after me. I'm down here like going forward, and I see this blip on my radar just like come up on me, and it passes by me on the right, and he turns around and he's aiming at me. And I was just like, "Oh, shoot." And I dash to the right and dodge this laser blast and whatever. And then I'm like trying to navigate between a guy being in front of me and a girl being behind me. And so I activate my femto, which you can control your femto usage to help your offense, defense, or boosting.
Right.
So I activate my boosting femto to get in front of him. Like I shoot forward, and then I turn around to where my suit is literally boost skating backwards. And I'm like shooting both of them, trying to keep them back while I'm skating through. And there's this metal riff playing in my ears. And all these cool robot noises are happening. And then 4 is like, "Warning, 2 more arsenals have been detected ahead of you." And it's just like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm fighting these 2 guys, and there's 2 more behind me. And so I turn, and I blast my way through a door. And then one of them talks, and it's Bishop, who is... a member, I think Bullet Works, who is my favorite faction. I want to join him if I can. I think it's Bishop and Zoa, who I mentioned earlier. And Bishop just says, "Keep going. We got your back." And it's like, "Oh, okay, it's on now." And I turned around. They were fighting them. And Bishop insisted, he was like, "Just keep going." And so I stopped there, and I turned around and I looked at him, and I was just like, I think I'm going to stay so I can steal off their arsenals. So nice. I turned around and I started fighting them. And it was just this really cool fight scene where I don't have any of my gear. I'm just flying this suit that has incredible stats but terrible weaponry. And I kind of regretted it because, come to find out, you actually can't kill them.
Oh, gosh.
You can get them down to 1 health, but you can't kill them.
Oh, man.
So I got them down there, and then my suit was down to like 3/4 health, and it was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna have to pay for that repair bill. And then I turned around, I basically just, like walked away, like, bye guys. Yeah. I'm going home. So like those moments where you just kind of walk away like eyes wide, holy crap, that happens all the time in this game.
Yeah.
It is a game that makes you feel like an anime character, like honestly, because you do really cool stuff all the time. There was this other mission where I was supposed to chase a train and they were like, hey, it's going to go really fast, so we're going to give you extra boosters. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just have a little bit extra speed or whatever. No. These two giant like jet engines are on my shoulders and I'm able to boost at like quadruple speed when I activate them. And I'm flying beside this train trying to dodge obstacles while I'm shooting it with these giant boosters on my back. It's crazy. The game is crazy. It really is. Like, it's one of those that I can't call it a perfect game, but I'm enjoying it so much that I really don't care. It's just so enjoyable. I love sitting in the hangar, upgrading my suit, looking at the different stats, trying to piece it all together. It makes me feel like Iron Man a little bit, building a new suit. I love playing the game. The gameplay is, like, the actual suit combat gameplay is really fun. It's mobile enough to where, like I said, when you're fighting another Arsenal, if it's a fast Arsenal, if you run like me and you go for firepower, like heavier firepower than mobility, I'm about halfway in mobility. But if you're fighting a suit like that, you will find yourself being like, okay, I've got to drop these weapons on my back and they'll just fall off just so you can keep up. And there are those cool like DBZ type moments where they're dashing everywhere and you're trying to keep up with them. And it's like, it's crazy. It's so good. I want to go play it now that I've talked about it.
You can go play it, but before you go, Steven, I have one question for you.
Yes.
Can you pet the dog in the hangar?
No.
They failed. They had one.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with Japan. I don't know what it is with Japan. They don't want you to pet dogs because you couldn't pet any of the Fire Emblem animals. Like, what's the deal?
This is my thing. Why put them there if I can't interact with them? Like, you're taking half a step. Just go the full, like, take one more step, Nintendo, you know? You're right there. You're so close. So close. Ridiculous.
Sequel.
Daemon X Machina 2. You can pet the dog. That's the only update. That's all it is.
Only update. That's all it needs.
Hey everybody, thank you for watching this episode of Chortle Cast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, you can do a couple things to help us out. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already at chortlegamers.com. You can let us know what Scooby-Doo character me and Steven are by leaving that in the comments. You can also like this video, share it with your friends, and that really helps us out. If you're an audio listener, you're probably listening through iTunes, you can leave us a review. That helps the visibility of the podcast, so we'd appreciate that. And then you can also follow us on Facebook at Chortle Games and Twitter at Chortle Games to know when we go live. And then you can also contribute to the show by joining our Discord, which you can get to in the description of this video or at the banner level of our channel. There's like a little icon. Click on that and get in there. You can keep up with us off stream. We post memes in there. We have a good time. But you can also, if you have a news story you'd like to hear us talk about or a question you might want to ask me or Steven, you can put that in our podcast channel, and we'll talk about that as we get to those things on the podcast. But, you know, Steven, the podcast is not the only thing we do here on the channel. Chortlecast airs every Monday at 12 o'clock Central Time. So you can look forward to that on Mondays. And then on Tuesdays or Thursday, we do this little thing we call Tea Time, which is where we play a co-op game for a live stream. This week it's going to be on Thursday, and it's going to be Steven and Big Germ. Probably. Maybe. Doing something.
It's going to be me and Big Germ, or possibly me and Austin playing Borderlands. We'll figure something out. It's going to be me and someone.
And there is like a 25% chance that on Tuesday, my birthday, we'll do a birthday live stream. That would be our tea time. But 25% chance of rain there.
And if that doesn't happen, either way, stream or no stream, let Jake know happy birthday on Tuesday. That's tomorrow for those watching.
Yeah. But anyway, we may do that. I don't know what my birthday plans are yet, so if I'm not doing anything, a stream seems like just as good a way to do whatever.
Well, yeah, if you don't end up doing anything, think about it. It's like the one day in a year where you could get me to play literally any game that you want to play.
You don't have Overcooked on PlayStation, do you? I
don't think so.
Oh, man. Oh, well.
I've got it on Switch.
We could maybe rig that up for Switch. We'll think about it. Anyway, 25% chance that's happening. If you don't see it on Tuesday, yeah, you can tell me happy birthday or whatever. But
if you don't see it on Tuesday, you gone too far.
You gone too far. It's over. It's not going to happen. Wednesday is when we do our Let's Plays. Those are shorter, edited content. This week it's going to be me and Steven playing this stupid mobile game. What did I just call it? Time Wars?
Time Wars.
Something like that. It's from the people who made
Super City.
Super City, which is another stupid mobile game that we've played.
It's funny, but nothing will capture Super City.
The best part of the video, I just edited it today. The best part, or at least to me, is we play through a level and we get to the end, and Steven is like, this is amazing, this is the greatest game ever, and then literally you play one more mission and you like almost throw the phone and are like, I hate this game, this is stupid. And so
sounds right.
Like probably within a minute of each other, it's like, I love this game, I hate this game. So anyway, I don't know how many people will like catch that, but it was funny to me. But anyway, that's our Let's Plays. And then on the weekends, we do live streams. So we have a live stream Friday night around 7 o'clock and then Saturday night around 7 o'clock. This week, Steven's going to be doing more Borderlands and more Daemon X Machina. So you're thinking Daemon X Machina Friday, right?
Probably opposite what we did this week. And I might pull an audible and take a poll again.
Yeah.
But I really want Daemon X Machina to get some visibility because I think it was just bad timing on Saturday.
The people who watched it on Saturday really enjoyed it and were excited about it, but not as many people showed up just off the name alone. So
it's just a matter of like doing it at a time that works for everybody so that they can tune in. I think you guys would really enjoy it. Yeah. It's a really fun game to play, really fun game to watch, and I'd love to share it with you guys. So there will be a Daemon X Machina stream this weekend. I don't know if there will be Borderlands. We'll leave that one up to, like, if Jeremy's like, hey, I'm free, let's do a stream. That's the one that will change. But Friday night will be Daemon X Machina.
Great. Good deal. And yeah, I won't be here because I'll be on a beach trip with my fam, celebrating my birthday, getting to hang out with my little nephew. So going to the beach, going to hang out with them. It's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, I'll be back.
To the beach.
I'll be back for next week's podcast. And actually, next week, we are doing something new. Something exciting.
Something new. Here's the graphic. Graphic here.
Graphic. Do we have a graphic for this yet? I need to get on that and figure that out. But So Steven, this is kind of your baby. So why don't you talk about what you're going to be doing?
So for whatever reason, it just kind of popped in my head. That there are a lot of games that I remember like super fondly from like previous generations, like, and I'm talking like, and this is probably a long way to say, I'm nostalgic for a lot of games. Mm-hmm. Let's just say it that way. And I was just thinking about like, man, I kind of want to play that again. I kind of want to play this again. And since I built the new PC, it was just like, this could be an opportunity to make some content on the channel. So we will be starting a segment where 1 week a month, or maybe depending on, we're going to start it and see how it goes. But it could be 1 week every month, 1 week every 2 months, something like that. We'll figure that out. But it's going to be a week-long piece of content where I take a game that I have not played in at least 5 years, and we're going to talk about it on Monday.
Mm-hmm. So Monday, the way it'll work is Monday after the podcast, there will be another video that will look very similar to what it looks like right now. Of me and Steven just talking on camera. And it will basically be me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be the novice who has not played this game, doesn't know what Steven's talking about. And he's just kind of telling me what he remembers fondly about this game, what he remembers enjoying. And then the rest of the week, you're going to be live streaming the game.
Right. That Monday video, I will have not played it yet. I'll be going purely off of memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just this is how I remember this game. I liked this about it. I didn't like this about it, stuff like that. And so every live stream for that entire week, and we may stream more, I don't know, it depends on the game, but every live stream that week will be of that game. So
there won't be your regular Team Up Tuesday. It would just be Steven playing whatever game it is, and then the Friday, Saturday streams would be that. And then if Steven has time and wants to, there might be a Wednesday night stream, there might be a Tuesday and Thursday night stream. It just really depends.
It depends. It depends a lot on what the game is, and how much I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll get through the game by the end of the week. Sometimes we won't, and that's okay. This is purely a means of me revisiting games I remember and seeing how they hold up now. Seeing if it's just nostalgia that makes me remember them fondly, or if they really do hold up today. Which brings us to. Is it Sunday that we're posting the review?
Yes. So Sunday is when we will post the review. Steven will be writing a review. He'll be recording a voiceover, and then I'll be editing, kind of like we did for the bottom line review that we did for Anthem. It'll be very similar to how that was edited, of just Steven talking over gameplay that he's live streamed. So it'll be interesting. If you've watched all the live streams, you'll see moments from those brought back up, and as Steven talks about how this game held up or what didn't hold up, or whatever they're making.
It's pretty much just a means of like starting the week with this is how I remember this game, and seeing how that progresses between from Monday to Sunday. Maybe I love the game more than I loved it before. Maybe I am like, man, what was I thinking liking that game so much? Like, who knows? That's what we're in to find out. And so we're calling this series. It's a series. It's a segment, whatever you want to call it. Forward compatible. Which props for the name, Jake. That was
because
brainchild.
We're taking backwards compatible games and seeing if they can come forward and still be compatible to the times.
Since it's not about me being compatible, like my compatibility to play old games, it's about the game's compatibility with me and who I am today compared to who I was then.
Yeah, I like that explanation better. Let's go with that.
Cool. Awesome.
Write that down, somebody.
Okay, Kaylin,
add it to the lore.
So the first game that I will be visiting is Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast,
which is coming out next week on Switch.
It is,
and PS4,
that was
right?
Yes, I will be playing on PC though.
So you will be playing the original game. You won't be playing whatever version comes to those.
That's correct. And there was a bit of, I was debating with myself how to do it, whether I should do it on PC or on PS4. I might change that up. But the way I see it is, I might as well play the version that I played.
That's what I was about to say. I like that better, of play the version you played and really see how does it hold up. So, but anyway, but the nice thing is, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I wish I had played this. I wish I could have played this, and you have a Switch or a PS4, which most of you do. Yeah. And I say that that's what we play on, so that's what I assume most of you have. So you'll have that kind of like, oh, I can go try this out myself and see what it's like.
Right.
So anyway,
and it's funny how JK2 worked out, because it was not going to be the first game. It was going to be the third game that I did. I was going to do it in November.
Yeah, it was all. It is funny how that worked out, because you've told me 3 games you wanted to do so far, and that was one of them. But once that Nintendo Switch announcement happened, you were like, well, flipping this script, like we're doing this first. So
yeah, it'll be a cool way to try out this segment while just bringing light to a game that's been given new life at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to be doing that. I'm really excited to start it because you guys know that I love to talk. I love to expound on things, and this is just an opportunity for me to talk about things that I enjoy and do that. So I hope that you guys will tune in for that. That starts a week from today.
Yes,
that's going to be
the 23rd.
Yeah, that's immediately after the podcast, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what it'll look like for the channel, but it will probably premiere after the live stream or the podcast has premiered.
Right.
So I don't know that it'll be seamless, like you're watching the podcast and we say bye and then it just starts up the next one or what. But you'll see it later that day post. So, and I'll try to keep it where it's not, like if the podcast airs every Monday at 12, this won't post at like 7 p.m. unless there's some crazy problem that I have, but I don't foresee that. Yeah. So, anyway.
Well, so that's going to run from Monday to Sunday.
Yes.
Live streams will be in between. And this will be, and just to reiterate everything, this will be once a month, maybe less if I realize that I can't sustain that. But I'm excited to get started.
Yeah. So far, the schedule that we have is based around something that's happening in the month. So again, with this, it's the game is being remastered or revamped and is coming out again. So we're going to kind of do it the week that it's happening. Next week or next month, there's a Halloween game that Steven wants to revisit. So we'll see some of that.
I'm choosing thematically at least for now.
Yeah.
I know I can't sustain that, but for now, there is a theme to the games I'm choosing each month. So I'm excited.
It's going to be fun. And we're going to just kind of experiment with this with you, and we're going to just see how it works. And if you enjoy it, let us know. You guys if you don't, let us know. We'll go from there.
I know you guys have been asking for reviews on the channel, and I have such a hard time reviewing new games just because any review that I do is like, I feel like I have to consume the game almost entirely before I can give a proper opinion.
Right.
And I just don't play games like that anymore. Like I want to kind of take my own pace, like I can't review Control because I'm taking it real slow, and that's how I want to take it. But with these games that I remember and that are usually shorter, I'm able to kind of replay them and be like, oh yeah, they're this and this and this, and I can do a informed review of a game that isn't on a timetable of relevance, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So this is what we're going to do for now for reviews, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Who knows? We may end up doing the sales pitch things later, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that could be fun.
That could be fun. But anyway, that's going to be it for this week's Chortle Cast. Be sure to stay tuned for other stuff. We'll see you either Wednesday for the Let's Play or Thursday for the Tea Time live stream.
Or 25% chance of seeing you tomorrow.
Or the 25% chance of seeing you tomorrow for my birthday. So we'll see how that all plays out. But anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.